Hello and welcome to Shoot the Hostage with me, Dan, and my partner, Sarah. We're a movie podcast who talks about a different film each week based on a theme. We do swear and we do spoil the featured movie, so only ever listen if you've seen the film or you don't care too much about spoilers. If you're a regular listener, you can just skip forward until you hear the intro music because you've heard all of this before. But if you are new to the show and you do enjoy what you hear, there are a couple of things you can do to help support the show. Firstly, make sure that you're subscribed on your podcast player so you get notified when new shows drop on Mondays. You could rate us 5 stars on Spotify, which couldn't be easier. You just hit the star icon below the show's artwork. Or if you have a spare few minutes, we'd love it if you could submit a review wherever you listen. Make sure you come follow us at STH_pod on social media. We are active on Instagram, X, Threads, and TikTok. And lastly, the biggest thing you can do to help is tell a friend about the show. So that's about it. That's enough preamble from me. Over to me and Sarah for this week's episode. Tremors! Tremors!
We need some sort of air horn sound effect.
We need that kid from Booksmart.
We do. Oh,
Can we get him on Cameo?
maybe.
Saying Tremors! Tremors.
Yeah.
It was Tremors or it was John Carpenter's Vampires for this one.
Oh, I'm glad you picked Tremors. I'll be honest.
What do you mean? We did rock, paper, scissors and we decided it was Tremors.
Did we?
No.
Oh, I was going to say, stop gaslighting me. I'm really forgetful.
I wish we had. I think this is the movie where I found out about rock, paper, scissors.
In Tremors, really?
Yeah, I think so.
Rochambeau.
First of all,
Yep.
It's not a neo-Western, okay?
Right, that's interesting. That's interesting. Because my first question was going to be, why is this a neo-Western?
I thought that you might ask me that question. I thought I'd cut it off at the head. Is that the phrase? Cut it off at the hedge?
Yeah. The hedge.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's not a neo-Western, is it really? I didn't... How did I justify it? I think it was something like, I really want to watch Tremors and talk about it.
Someone wears a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
Done.
It will be fun to try and justify it. But I thought, do you know what? I can't justify it. You're right.
You can't.
Someone does wear a cowboy hat. You're right. There's some harmonica, I think, in the score.
Yeah, there's some tumbleweed maybe at one point.
Yeah.
Rolling planes.
Something guns.
Horses.
Yep. Are there horses in this?
Yeah.
There's a cat.
There's a horse. There's at least one horse. Somebody rides a horse.
Do they?
Wait.
How do you not remember this? You're thinking about Tremors 4.
No, I'm not. No, Tremors 4 is a Western.
Yeah. It's a straight up Western.
Yeah.
So that's what I remember why I picked Tremors now. It's just so that I could talk about Tremors 4.
Oh, cool.
This is not the only film this season where the first scene is someone urinating.
It's not, no.
Oh.
It's not the first film where the first scene is somebody urinating and their name is Kevin.
No, it's not.
Which is very, very strange.
Yeah. But guess what the other one is? Right in, tell us. If only we would have waited, right, about a month to release this, we could have released it on Burt Gummer Day.
Burt Gummer Day?
Yeah.
When's that?
It's on April the 14th.
Is this an official thing?
Oh, I don't know if it's official. I don't know if it's like...
That's like a week after Rex Manning Day. My calendar's filling up.
Yeah. You have to watch... what's that movie called? What's it called?
Empire Records.
Empire Records. That's it.
Oh
I'm
my
drawing a blank.
God.
Empire Records, Tremors. You have to watch them every year.
Yeah, done.
Yeah, no, Burt Gummer Day. Apparently it's something to do with the end of Tremors 8, which I haven't seen.
Tremors 8?
Yeah. Sorry, Tremors 7. What am I
Oh, I was
thinking?
going to say, there's another?
Yeah.
Yeah, Tremors 7's the only one we haven't seen, isn't it?
Shrieker Island.
Yeah, the one with John Heder.
That's it. Well, apparently there's something at the end of that to encourage you to celebrate Burt Gummer Day on April the 14th.
Amazing.
But yeah, so we didn't know that, so
Okay.
I don't know why I brought it up, really. The thing is about Tremors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it fucking rips.
It's a banger.
It fucking rips.
It slaps.
That's what the children say, isn't it?
I have no idea. I think that's what the children said in like 2019.
Yeah. yeah.
It moves too fast for my take.
It's great. We'll get into it, I'm sure, but I love it because it just sort of moves along, and it's just like this nice, almost like could be a background movie to a certain degree. I feel like once you've seen it enough. But yeah, 1990 made for a budget of 10 million. I think it made about 16 million at the box office.
It was considered a flop at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah,
but I think it cleaned up in the home video market.
Well, it must have done because they made fucking 6 sequels and 2 TV
Two
shows.
2 TV shows, yeah.
It's when did you first see Tremors?
Ooh.
Was this an early one?
I can't really remember. I want to say late 90s. I definitely did not see it when it first came out. I'm not sure I would have been allowed because I would have been 8. And it's wild to me that this is a PG.
Yeah, it's family friendly, Sarah.
It's not family friendly.
But they say mother humpers.
No, even with the ADR, the aeroplane cut, if you will, I don't think I would have been allowed to watch this when I was 8. So I'm going to say about late 90s when I sort of was ravenously renting everything that I possibly could.
When you were allowed to do what you wanted.
Yeah.
Because you're an adult.
Yeah.
I saw this when I was about 9, I think.
Naturally.
It must have been on television late at night, I would say. Like many of the films that we talk about are from my childhood. It came from me just not being a night owl at midnight and just flicking around on TV. Oh, what's this? They're jumping across rocks. Why are they doing that? Big fucking worms.
Pole vaulting, yeah. I think you'll find.
Yeah. And I loved it. I loved it from the very first time I saw it. I used to talk to my mates about it. We used to play Tremors. I always thought they were called Tremors, the monsters.
Yeah, I think a lot of people did.
Yeah, like jump up on your bed so the Tremors don't get you. And genuinely, I do think it might be where I found out about rock, paper, scissors.
So, I mean, it was worth watching just for that.
Yeah. When
did you watch any of the sequels?
I think...
Because they started pumping them out not long after. Was the second one like 96?
Yeah, I think the second one is... They're quite spread out. It's random.
Yeah.
The second one is 96. So quite a big gap. Just allow that Tremors fan base to build. That was called Aftershock.
Genius.
Yeah. Tremors 3 came out in 2001.
Okay.
It was called Back to Perfection. Tremors 4, The Legend Begins in 2004.
Like it.
Tremors 5, Bloodlines, 11 years gap, which came out in 2015.
11-year gap, and some bright spark went, do you know what we should do? We should resurrect the Tremors franchise and put Jamie Kennedy in it.
That was the worst decision that they made in this franchise.
Agree. That
Terrible.
And CGI.
I'd take the CGI over Jamie Kennedy. Awful.
Maybe they could CGI Jamie Kennedy out of the film.
Yeah, that would be preferable, actually. Can't we squash him up and make him look like a tremor?
Give it another year. We'll probably be able to put an AI prompt into something and they'll spit out a version of all the Tremors movies sans Jamie Kennedy.
I think we could do that now. But it'll only be a minute long.
Yeah.
Which is about as much Jamie Kennedy as I can handle. Tremors 6, A Cold Day in Hell.
Yep.
2018. That was the snowy one.
Yeah.
Tremors 7, Shrieker Island 2020.
Which we haven't seen.
Which is the only one we haven't seen.
Yeah.
Now, I think it was about a year ago that you got me the Tremors, a very nice French Blu-ray with all 6.
Yeah.
The 6 Tremors movie. I can't get my fucking words out. You know what I'm trying to say? I do.
It was the only box set that I could find. And it was the most comprehensive one at the time.
Yeah, and it's great. But it didn't have 7, so we've not seen it yet. And it's not like on any streaming platforms or anything.
I'm not paying for it.
No, I do want to see it because I feel like I need to complete it.
Yeah.
And I think that this franchise is an odd one because there are... number 1 is the best, hands down, I think. But there are some other good ones in there.
I enjoy most of them.
Yeah.
They start to suffer after 2, but I think making Burt Gummer the lead was a boss move.
I think it's the only move.
Yeah.
I think in 2, it's Earl, isn't it? Earl and Burt Gummer. And then after that, Earl disappears and there's no Earl, no Val. Val is mentioned, I think, in one of them.
Yeah, because they mention him in 2 because he marries Rhonda.
Right. Okay.
Spoilers.
But yeah, they definitely concentrate on Burt more. But like you say, when they introduced Jamie Kennedy, like 5 and 6 were just straight up pretty bad, I thought. I didn't really get that much out of them. Like the Burt Gummer's stuff is fun and he's running around doing his thing. But for me, I think my favourite sequel was 4.
Yeah, you really enjoyed that, didn't you?
Yeah, the Western one I thought was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't generally enjoy prequels as a rule, but that one was all right.
I enjoyed it. I think 2 was pretty decent.
Yeah. I like 2 a lot,
But
I think it gets a bad rap.
yeah, there's some dodgy CGI in it. That's the thing that I have got the biggest problem with, because the original Tremors movie, it's just puppets, it's practical effects, and it looks fucking great. But then I guess what they're doing with the sequels, when they're introducing the evolution of the monsters and the life cycle of them and things like that, they are doing something new. And I suppose they kind of had to use CGI in a way, but I think in number 2, aren't they just like CGI chicken Tremors or something?
They're little ones.
Yeah.
I don't know. There was still some puppetry in that.
Yeah, but the effects are great. The original, it was by a company called Amalgamated Dynamics.
Okay, yeah. I'll be honest, I hadn't really paid much attention to who did the effects work in this movie until we watched it for this show.
Yeah.
And that's not a name that I'm familiar with.
No, me neither, but they've done notable works. Starship Troopers.
Oh.
Demolition Man. I got a little bit of Starship Troopers vibe when we were watching this, actually.
Do you really?
Particularly the face monster.
The face
brain
monster.
bug.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Spider-Man, Mars Attacks, X-Men,
Okay.
Death Becomes Her.
So not only a bunch of films I've seen, some films we've already covered. Now
Yeah.
I'm ashamed.
I've got a little excerpt. Is that the correct word?
Sure.
I cut and pasted something from Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Amalgamated Dynamics successfully ran a Kickstarter campaign to fund their independent horror film titled Harbinger Down,
Harbinger.
Down, which was directed by Gillis and produced by Woodruff Jr. The film was released in August 2015 and features exclusively practical creature effects. The impetus for the project began when ADI were frustrated that their practical effects for The Thing, which tried to follow closely to the ones featured in the 1982 original, had been mostly digitally replaced with computer-generated imagery.
Oh, I am also ticked off that they did that.
Mm.
That's my biggest complaint with the Thing prequel.
Right.
I didn't know it was those guys.
Right.
Okay.
So apparently they had some ideas to do some proper work, like a Botine in the original.
Uh-huh.
And
Which they did.
it got CGI'd.
Yeah, it got CGI'd over. They
Right.
CGI'd over the top of it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Devastating.
Yeah. But great creature effects in this makes it one of the reasons that it really holds up, I would say. And I would say one of the reasons it's got such a legacy and it became a franchise is, well, number one, we've already said the first movie rips, but it looks great.
Mm-hmm.
The characters are interesting and funny.
Yep.
And it's sort of, all of them have coasted off of that original to some degree.
Yeah, and there are things about it that sort of make it weirdly progressive as well.
Okay. Well,
which we'll get to.
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
I would say it's... people tend to like this. Letterboxd, the average rating is 3.5 and IMDb is 7.2.
That's really strong for a film like this.
Yeah, I would probably be a bit higher than that. But
I'm at like a 4 stars, I would say.
I think so. Directed by Ron Underwood, City Slickers.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And Hearts and Souls, which I never had any time for that.
I don't think I've seen that. I'm not sure I know what that is.
I think there's a bus crash or something. Robert Downey Jr. is either a ghost or he can hear ghosts and he has to make them happy.
Okay.
What's the phrase when the ghosts won't piss off?
They're trapped in purgatory?
Yeah,
limbo?
Like unfinished business or something. Yeah, it's something like that.
Okay. When was that made?
Like 94 or something, 93. Okay. It's early to mid-90s, I would say. Additional directing by S.S. Wilson, who did go on to direct Tremors 2 and 4.
Yes, I remember that.
Which are the 2 best sequels.
Yeah, agreed.
Written by Ron Underwood, Brent Maddock and S.S. Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
And editor O. Nicholas Brown, who edited Rambo 3, 10 Things I Hate About You.
Oh.
And executive producer Galen Hurd, which I didn't know until this time. We like Galen Hurd.
We do.
Cast, let's burn through it. Kevin Bacon, Fred Ward plays Earl, Finn Carter, Rhonda, Michael Gross, Burt Kummer, Reba McEntire, who I didn't know until this time was a singer.
I told you that the last time we watched it.
I didn't know until the last time we watched it that she's a country and western singer.
You just tune me out, don't you?
Victor Wong.
The Victor
Wong plays Walter. Mm-hmm. And also might be appearing again this season.
Ooh.
And the kid from Jurassic Park.
Ariana
Grande?
something? No.
You mentioned earlier you didn't see this till you were older.
Yeah.
If you'd have seen this when you were a bit younger,
Mhm.
do you think it would have, obviously you're a big fan of horror, would it have, is it kind of a gateway horror, do you think, for many people?
I think it's definitely gateway horror, yeah. I think that's the perfect description. I would kind of put this in the same category as films like The Monster Squad, The Gate, things
Yeah.
like that. Gremlins even.
Gremlins, I was getting Gremlins vibes,
Yeah.
Critters even. I
Yeah.
know Critters are sort of a bit more adult leaning, but, you know,
Yeah.
they are
Sweaty puppets.
juvenile. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that description. I'm happy with that. I think it's funny because there were so many points during this film where I was just like, how did they get this through as a PG? Even having sort of dampened down the curse words, there's actually some pretty, I'm not going to say graphic, but I started to make a list of stuff that was in this. Like the first half alone, you see a dead old drunk guy up a, I don't know, electricity pylon or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Bits of dead sheep. You see a decapitated head. You see parts of somebody's brain in a workman's helmet. And that's in the first like half hour. How is this a PG?
Yeah, it is nuts that it's a PG. It's definitely skirting the line there. I think it was originally made as an R or 15 or whatever. That was the
Yeah.
intention.
Okay, I can see that.
At some point, they changed their minds and said, no, we need to make this a family-friendly affair. But it's still not quite, is it? Like you say, there are things in it. And when you pointed those things out to me while we were watching the film, I was thinking, oh, okay, but you're only seeing a hard hat there with some blood on it. But then you pointed out all of the other things, like, oh, yeah, all of them together. And it's the threat of the violence as well.
That would have scared me. If I'd watched this when it came out, if I'd watched it when I was 8, that would have potentially traumatized me for life.
Yeah, but it's fun though, isn't it? Like it's all of that stuff. But then I don't think this scared me as a kid.
No, I didn't imagine it would have done.
But if I was a different human being
that hadn't cut their baby teeth on RoboCop,
yeah, then maybe there's a world that you find this kind of creepy. But then as soon as that score kicks in, it's like
yeah, the jaunty sort of action adventure.
Yeah,
score. Yeah,
this good time sort of music. It's more about vibe, I think, when it comes to horror films. So I think I would find it difficult to get really scared about it because it's just fun.
How do you feel about the music in this? Because I did read something about, I don't have the names in front of me. I wish I did. There were 2 people who were responsible for the score, one of whom was replaced and isn't credited, but both elements of the 2 separate scores remain.
Okay.
Which I find really odd. There's nothing about the elements of the score that are glaringly obviously done by 2 different people. I think it melds really well together.
I wouldn't have known that.
No, that's kind of what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I don't know how I feel about the other guy not being credited. That's kind of a sucky move.
Yeah, well, who knows what went on there.
But how do you feel about the music? Because it is
I like it.
It is very action adventure, though, isn't it?
I like it. I think it fits perfectly with what this film is. Like I said, the opening scene is Kevin Bacon having a piss. We're not taking this very seriously, guys. Then we're getting some interaction between Earl and Val, which is fucking great, by the way.
Gold.
And you're getting this music, but then that juxtaposition with the horrific stuff with the monsters, and all of the orangey, goopy, horrible stuff that you're seeing with them, and the threat of violence to humans. I think it all kind of works really well together.
Yeah,
it's kind of its own thing, and I think that's why it was so well regarded when it came out on VHS back then, I guess.
Yeah, I think the closest thing I can liken it to is kind of a 50s B-movie monster film.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of the hallmarks of the monster movies of old, but very 90s. There's something kind of fresh feeling about it. Even now, even like 35 years from the release date, it still feels pretty fresh, even though it's pretty well-trodden ground. I don't know. What do you think?
I agree, and I think that's mostly because of the characters.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's all of the things that we mentioned already, and they did such a good job with the creatures and the score and everything. But I think the characters really are the thing that's given it the longevity and makes it feel kind of fresh, because it just feels like they're 2 people having fun. You don't know too much about them. You're not giving their complete fucking backstory like you probably
I
would
want
these
it.
days. I want it, but I don't. Like, I'm very glad that this is a 90-minute in and out movie.
Yeah.
And I think the script for this is great. It's perfect for what it is. You do have a danger if this was remade today, it would be 2 hours 10 minutes, and you'd get
minimum
25 minutes of Earl and Val
origin story,
how they met or whatever.
Yeah.
Which, how did they meet, by the way?
I don't, but that's what I mean. I need to know these things. They're a very unlikely duo.
Yeah.
And they don't even seem to get along a lot of the time.
No, they're like an old married couple.
Yeah.
But they fit and they need each other. It's a very sweet relationship that they've
Yeah,
got.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's really well rounded. It's well written. Considering a lot of films of this ilk, a lot of the characters and the relationships weren't so well considered. They were a little bit two-dimensional, perhaps.
Like Melvin.
Fuck Melvin.
Yeah.
I hate Melvin so much. I wouldn't even call Melvin two-dimensional. I do have questions, though. Where are his parents, for a start?
I would say there are 2 dimensions to his character. One, who the fuck is he? And
Yeah.
2, where are your parents?
Yeah.
They're the 2 dimensions.
3, can you fuck off?
Yeah, Melvin. Yeah, it does. There's something about it that feels kind of contemporary.
Yeah. Contemporary is the best word.
Yeah.
I couldn't describe it any better than that myself.
But I think also in the kind of sort of touched on it, a lot of that being the characters, and I mentioned Earl and Val, but I think some of the female characters as well,
Mm-hmm.
that I think they're probably given more to do or are relied upon more than you would be average 80s, 90s horror movie where maybe those characters are not treated with as much respect.
Mm-hmm. I think that's kind of one of the things I was getting at when I say this feels sort of progressive in a lot of ways. I think it's really hilarious the way that we're sort of introduced to Rhonda because, I don't know.
A girl!
Yeah. I think I'm really familiar with this film. I know what's coming. And yet still the way that we're sort of the lead up to her character reveal still sort of makes me bristle a little bit. The way that Kevin Bacon's sort of talking about his ideal woman and her being such a identikit playboy centerfold type.
Legs that don't quit.
Yeah.
And world-class breasts.
Yeah.
I think is the phrase.
Blonde hair.
Yeah.
Eyes, preferably.
Preferably
2 of them.
they have eyes, yeah.
I can't remember the specifics. She's got a face.
She's got a face, yeah.
But yeah, and his visible disappointment when they come upon this, I guess what would be considered, and I fucking hate this term, but homely, like a girl next door type who's, not stunningly attractive, but very, an attractive woman.
Yeah.
But oh no, she's got a brain and that won't do.
Oh no, she's got on a silly hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's interesting though, isn't it? Like that. I agree with you when he's saying that stuff. There's always a little bit of. I get it all the time. We were watching Drop Dead Fred today, and that's an older movie. I'm like, when they're about to do things I'm super familiar with, but you're getting that context for the first time in a while, and I'm like, oh, is this okay?
Yeah.
But in terms of Val's character, when he's saying all that stuff, he doesn't want that. Like his arc is actually growing up.
Yeah.
And I like that. And Earl knows that as well. And I think that's why that's okay and that works.
Oh, absolutely.
Because
that's kind of what I was saying. Like what the lead up makes me bristle, but then I remember how it plays out and I'm just like, it's fine, calm down.
Yeah.
Now's not the time to be a raging feminist.
But I think that is an interesting point though. I do think that they could have probably done away with the romance element of this. It's not really
it wouldn't
necessary.
have affected it, yeah.
Like you can just cut the last scene. It makes no fucking difference.
I would say that's a real hallmark of 90s movies, but it still happens now. They always find a way to shoehorn in a romance.
Well, apparently it was a test screening thing. People were like, they didn't get together. And they're like, all right, fine, we'll shoot it then. Fucking basic. Don't get basic morons in your test screen audience.
Yeah, just quiz them before you allow them to be in your test audience. Do you have a live, laugh, love sign in your house? Right, get out. You're not welcome here. But I do like Rhonda.
Rhonda's a good character. She's the seismologist. She's the one that is getting these readings and seeing these tremors. So she's like, there's something not quite right here. And she's the one that figures out that there are 4 in total. They kill one, and then she says, I think there's another 3 because there was some tremors here and there's some tremors here. And
I thought there was 3 in total.
I think there's 4 in total because they kill one almost immediately.
Yeah.
Or one sort of kills itself, really.
Really ineffective monsters.
Hey, I found the ass end. But they get cleverer.
Yeah, that's true. They do
get
learn,
more cleverer.
More cleverer.
Um,
She figures out a ton of stuff while they're just sat scratching their heads.
yeah. Taking her trousers off feels like a studio note, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, she's going to be fully clothed the whole time. We've promised them a blonde with world-class breasts.
Yeah.
We can't tease that and then have no partial nudity.
I feel like the essence of this film is probably quite well-intentioned, but there's a couple of things that feel like studio notes that are peppered in there to go, no, that's not necessary, is it?
I agree, but they don't annoy me to the degree where it tampers with my enjoyment of the film.
Yeah, it's not a huge problem. I would also say there's one other character in this who is maybe the most important character in this entire franchise. She's not in any other movies, though.
Which one?
Heather.
Oh, Heather,
Yeah.
Heather Gummer.
Because she saves Bert.
Yeah, that's true. Oh,
Bert gets bitten by a mouth snake, and, and she shoots it off with a shotgun.
yeah.
So Bert Gummer dies then. We've got no other Tremor sequels. It's dead.
I don't like that
No.
universe.
No, but that's what I mean. Like she saved Bert there. She's always telling him what guns to use and what ammo to take and what the strategy that they should be using. So I think she's actually the most important character in this franchise.
Okay.
So yeah, I think the female characters are actually treated with quite high regard, actually.
Yeah. I agree.
Which is refreshing, and I guess is why it feels a bit more. If this came out today, people go, "Ah, it's fucking woke, isn't it? It's way too woke." Why are you making
agenda?
Why are you making the females characters?
Why have they got personality traits beyond tits?
And where is this world-class breast that you promised me?
Just the one.
Yeah, no, 3. No Total Recall.
Oh, what a crossover!
What Tremors and Total Recall?
Yeah.
Maybe the Tremors are from Mars. Maybe they're mutants.
Okay.
Um,
A Paul Verhoeven directed Tremors movie.
Oh, come on. Oh. When you said that, I thought you was going to say a Paul Verhoeven directed Dune movie,
No.
which also would be good. What do you mean no? The other Worms movie.
The other sandworms.
I love Denis Villeneuve. I
Yeah.
think he's great, but it would have been nice to get a Verhoeven Dune in the 90s.
It would have been so different. So different.
It would have either been the best film ever made or the fucking worst film ever made.
Or it would have been another Showgirls, and
Yeah.
people only start to appreciate it in 25 years' time.
Yeah. But
Who knows?
It would have been something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the cast a little bit. Fred Ward, R.I.P. Gone too soon. I absolutely love Fred Ward in this role. He's not an actor that I'm super familiar with. I've seen him in a fair few other bits. Like he kind of was one of those guys for a while. Like I didn't necessarily know his name for a long time, but I recognized his face. He's got a really good face.
Yeah.
Like old Hollywood type / boxer's face, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like a John Bernthal situation.
Yeah, very much so. I can't imagine this role going to anybody else. I don't know what it was about him, just sheer charisma maybe, but he really made it his own.
He was great. I think their dynamic together is really good, but I do think I enjoy Earl a tad bit more.
Much more in my case.
This, for me, this is the Fred Ward role.
Yeah.
This is what I know him from. I honestly, I couldn't name another thing that he's in apart from Chain Reaction because I looked on Letterboxd earlier, but I don't remember him in that.
He
Keanu
is
Reeves
Earl.
Invents water or something.
He invents water.
He invents power water and gets on a big boat. But yeah, I don't know Fred Ward from anything else. So this is this thing I know him from, but he's great. He's got some really fun expressions. He's playing it almost like a Wile E. Coyote, I would say. He feels quite cartoony.
Okay.
And I think it works. It doesn't go overboard with it, but it's just like some little expressions that he makes.
He skirts the line sometimes, but he always stays on the right side of it.
Yeah, just like when he trips over when they've just learnt about the graboids, and he's like, oh, and they think it's a tremor.
Yeah,
I'm not going to stop that. And he goes, oh, it's goddamn prairie dogs, and it's just funny. It's just fun. I like it. I think him bouncing off of Kevin Bacon is pretty perfect, but I don't think one necessarily works without the other.
I would agree with that.
Like the odd couple, aren't they? Like,
Yeah.
they live together, they work together, they do the rock, paper, scissors to decide who makes breakfast, and there's this whole thing going on, and I don't know what it is, but I wonder if they just, if Fred Ward and Kevin Bacon just had their own kind of, how actors do sometimes, their elaborate backstories for their characters. I'd love to know if they had that and what that would have been.
Yeah.
And what they would have taken inspiration from. I do feel like Fred Ward would have been looking at cartoons and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
I think in another universe, they are an intergenerational gay couple.
Funny you should say that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yes.
You're not going to elaborate?
We'll come back to that.
Okay. Interesting. So, Kevin Bacon, are you a fan of Bacon?
I enjoy Bacon. I do. I think do you know what I like about Kevin Bacon?
The fact that he plays his banjo at goats on TikTok?
Well, of course, I didn't know that, but yes, if he does.
If I open TikTok and I see Kevin Bacon playing an instrument, some animal on a farm, I know it's going to be a good day.
No, I guess along those sort of lines, like, he doesn't seem to take himself too seriously. He knows who he is. He's Kevin Bacon, and he knows that everyone else knows who he is, and he's that guy that everyone talks about that's got some connection to everybody. And
does broadband adverts?
Yeah, I was going to say Yellow Pages, but
that
would
would
have been 30 years earlier, wouldn't it?
Is that not Harvey Keitel? Or am I thinking, am I getting my wires crossed?
As the wolf from Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
But no, I really like Kevin Bacon because he just doesn't seem to take himself too seriously. He's done a bunch of stuff. He's done terrible movies. He's done brilliant movies. He's been in pretty much everything.
He's played himself in the MCU.
He's played himself in the MCU. He was in an X-Men as a baddie.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and reel off all of his movies, but he was in some real bangers in the 80s and the 90s.
He can dance. He's got moves.
Yeah. And he was in Hollow Man.
Yeah. The end.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that he doesn't take himself seriously, because it sounds like he did when Tremors came out. From everything that I've read surrounding this film, it sounds like he fucking hated this film. Not that he had a bad experience making it. For all the stories seem to suggest that they all kind of had a ball making this film. But I think because it wasn't critically well received at the time, because it was considered a bit of a financial flop initially, he was somewhat ashamed of it. Yeah, he kind of belittled it for a while, kind of in the public. He was a bit embarrassed at being in that, that silly worm film.
Right.
And it wasn't until a few years later he started to see how much people had embraced it, and he was like, why was I ever down on it? It's great.
Sounds like he loosened up a little bit then.
Yeah.
That's frustrating, because it feels like to me that they probably had the best time making this.
It sounds like it,
and
yeah.
It feels like he really liked it.
Yeah.
Just from the performances, it feels like he got it, what they were doing.
Well, to give a little bit of background, it sounds a lot like, because his partner is Kyra Sedgwick, obviously, another actor.
Who's in Hearts and Souls.
Oh, okay. There we go. Connections. But yeah, she was pregnant with their first kid at the time, very close to giving birth. So I think there was probably a lot of added life stresses surrounding him that maybe tarnished it a little bit.
It's like, this fucking worm movie's got to work, man.
Yeah, this is it.
Right. Okay. And also, like, I guess he was kind of coming upon that era when he's in things like Apollo 13 and maybe We're Trying to Get an Oscar. And we're trying to be a bit serious. We're taking our craft very seriously, maybe.
I get that. I mean, I love Tremors, but it's never going to win an Oscar.
I'd watch Tremors over Apollo 13 any day.
Same.
Any day.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't think I've ever seen it the whole way through
really?
without falling asleep.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
It's a bit snoozy, that movie, isn't it?
I don't think it's snoozy, but it's no Tremors.
I love Ron Howard, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's something about that movie just... because it's one of those every few years, I'm like, let's try this again. Yeah. It's meant to be a good movie. I'm like, yeah, it's all right. But God, it's boring, isn't it?
A lot of Oscar-y stuff's a bit dry, though, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. It was a bit dry.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess maybe he's just in that era when he's trying to take himself a bit more seriously. But I'm glad that he's come around to it.
Yeah, same.
I wonder what the rest of the cast thought of this.
I'm not sure.
I know what Michael Gross thought of it. I know what his bank manager thought of it.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been the bulk of his career for the last 2 decades, I imagine.
It was Tremors and Cool as Ice, I think, wasn't it?
Right, okay.
Oh dear.
I don't know a lot about him outside of the Tremors movies, I'll be honest.
No, I think Burt Gummer is his role.
Yeah.
I would say, definitely. Yeah, and obviously Reba McEntire didn't ever return.
This was her first acting role, I believe.
I don't know her from anything else, I must
Yeah.
admit. I'm not familiar with her music either.
You'd hate it.
Yeah, maybe. But
I think the song over the end credits is hers, perhaps.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that would make sense because I think she was signed to Universal Music at the time.
Right.
So they would have been like, an audition,
Right.
Let's
Yeah.
get her in this movie. But she worked great. So yeah, I think that was the right casting.
Mhm.
And I didn't know that she was ever a singer or anything like that. But yeah, she didn't return for any sequels, and it's a fucking Shakespearean tragedy that Burt Gummer and Heather Gummer. I was going to say, what's her surname? She might not have taken it.
Well, I'm sure she ditched it.
Yeah. But it's it's a tragedy that their marriage broke up. Spoilers for Tremors 2 onwards, I guess.
Yeah.
Because I would love to have seen that character back. I would like to have seen them both back in most of those sequels.
I think the biggest tragedy of their relationship is that they spawned a child.
Which is Jamie Kennedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also spoilers.
Oh, God. Apparently he's a bellend in real life as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That makes sense. That tracks.
It seems like it, doesn't it?
He seems like a knob, yeah.
He does. There's some people that seem like a knob and you hear that they're lovely. And like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, fine.
And they're just like quiet and keep themselves to themselves.
Yeah, and people don't like it.
Yeah.
But yeah, apparently.
Okay.
Huge knobhead.
Chode.
Allegedly.
You're not going to talk about Victor Wong?
I mean,
Wong.
What is there to say? He basically runs this town, this population of 14, perfection. He's
14 people.
He's got the store, which seems to be the hub of everything in that town.
It's where they all hang out.
Yeah, it's the community centre.
Yeah. I think Victor Wong. Well, I read that Victor Wong didn't start acting until he was in his late 50s. But I think that's because he was born when he was in his late 50s. I think he arrived on Earth as a fully formed 50-odd-year-old old man and remained that age for the bulk of his career.
Was he also that age in, what was that movie you mentioned to me while we were watching this?
I remember him from the Three Ninjas movies.
Yeah.
He was the granddad.
That's it.
I used to love those when I was little.
I'm not sure I've seen those.
They're not good.
I remember them being on.
They're really not good. I watched one of them, I would say maybe about 10 years ago for a little jolt of nostalgia. Yeah. It's terrible. So bad.
Is it going to be a Sunday afternoon comfort movie? But like, look, Dan, this is shit.
Yeah.
But let's have a cup of tea and...
Yeah, like a Mac and Me.
Yeah. Oh, God. I'll take that over Mac and Me.
Well, tomorrow's Sunday.
Yeah.
Three Ninjas, knuckle up.
Yeah.
I think Hulk Hogan was in one of them.
Was he?
I think so.
Was he as his character Thunderlips from Rocky 3?
I highly doubt that.
Or was he as his character Mr. Nanny from Mr. Nanny?
I fucking loved Mr. Nanny. I went to see that at the cinema.
Me too.
Oh my God. I haven't seen it since.
Do you know what I used to love was fucking Suburban Commando. With
wow.
Christopher Lloyd.
That's a film I haven't thought about in 30 years.
I had it on VHS and I looked it up recently and it's going for a lot of money on VHS and I wish I fucking still had it.
We'll keep an eye out.
Yeah. Victor Wong. Yeah, he's great. I really like his character. He's enterprising. He's, like I said, he feels like he's the hub of that community. He's where everyone kind of congregates. It's where everyone goes when they run over, they've got this tremor stuck to their truck. Where do they go? They go to see Victor Wong and he go give you $5 for it or whatever it is.
Yeah.
He says. And he buys it from him and he's trying to sell photographs to people.
Yeah, merchandise and
stuff.
stuff.
Take your photo with the graboid. And he's the one that names it graboid, actually.
Yeah.
I'd really like that scene when him and Melvin are sitting there and they're trying to come up with names. They go, Suckoid, no.
Yeah.
Snakeoid, no. Graboid, yes. That's fun. He's a really memorable character.
Always.
Yeah.
In anything he's in, he's always a standout, which is curious because I don't think he's an actor that had a tremendous amount of range, but then perhaps he was kind of typecast because he was an elderly Chinese man with Bell's palsy. So he was sort of in a small bracket for casting opportunities.
Yeah. I think I only know him really from one other film.
Oh, I wonder what that could be.
Yeah. Tune into the last episode of the season. But you have to wait. Unless you go on Patreon and sign up as a free member and you get to see our season lineup.
Three Ninjas. It's not.
It's not. I haven't seen it, I don't think. But there's a second one called Four Ninjas.
No.
Three Ninjas too.
Yeah. Well, there's three ninjas. Wait, there might be like four of them. There's three ninjas. I think there's three ninjas Kickback, three ninjas Knuckle Up, and then three ninjas something mountain. I can't remember.
Day of the Soldado.
Yeah. Written by Taylor Sheridan. Starring Benicio del Toro.
Now that movie I would watch.
I want to come back to the horse thing, because you gaslit me into thinking there wasn't a horse in this film, but I've just got to the point in my notes where it talks about the horse death. How do you feel? Like, I know you love animals, so maybe you've suppressed it.
Yeah. I remember Edgar dying of not water. Dehydration. Edgar dying of dehydration up on that electricity pylon.
What's the opposite of water?
Yeah.
The absence of water.
Come on. I remember that death. And I remember Nesta, the person who we'd never noticed before, get sucked through that tyre.
Nesta is Mandela effect.
Yeah.
I've never noticed that character in this film. I've seen this film so many times. He was never in it before.
I think you nudged me while we were watching it and you went, who's he? I was like, I don't know, I've never seen him before. He's got a yellow shirt on.
He doesn't exist. And also, he's the most forgettable human on the planet, and yet looks like if Peter Weller climbed in the machine from The Fly with both Simon and Garfunkel. And he's what plopped out.
Yeah.
But I couldn't tell you what his name was, any lines that he had, what he contributed to the movie.
No, it's funny because I remember his death.
Oh, do you? I don't even remember that.
When he sits in that tyre and he gets sucked off through the tyre.
Phrasing.
Sorry, I had to do it. He gets sucked through that tyre. I remember that death like quite clearly.
Oh,
but I don't think I ever paid any attention to his activity before that.
No.
It was always the kid bouncing around on the
pogo stick.
Pogo stick, yeah. That's the thing I remember most.
And Melvin being fucking obnoxious.
Yeah.
The kid's got such... I shouldn't say this. If I am accused of a crime, I shouldn't put it out there that children have punchable faces.
Depends what the crime is.
Punching a child.
If it's punching an old person, then you'll probably be all right.
That's true. Whenever I say I don't like kids, it makes me think of that being Peep Show where Mark says he's a paedophobe. And Jeremy says, well, I'd always wondered. Anyway, I'm sad that Melvin survives.
Yeah, I'm sad. Is he in any of the sequels?
No, thank God. I don't believe so anyway.
I've got a feeling that maybe the character is back, you know.
Really?
Maybe in 3?
Oh, like grown up.
Yeah.
That would make sense.
Because 3 is back to perfection.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think maybe he owns the store or something.
Of course, because there's only that's one of one career options in perfection.
Yeah.
What else would he do?
Yeah, well, exactly. And he's got no parents, so
yeah.
he has to work there.
Well, it's really funny because nobody in the history of ever remembers this film. If you have ever heard of this film, please write in because I need to find my people. When I was a kid, I used to rent this film more than I care to admit when I was a little kid, called Matt Miller, Party Dude.
Oh, yeah.
And when I became a grown-up, I was like, I have to find this film. I remember it being really fun. I need to find it. Doesn't exist anywhere. Eventually, I tracked it down, and it's now called The Day My Parents Ran Away. And the main character, Matt Miller, the party dude, is played by the same actor who plays Melvin. Now, I can only assume it's the same universe, and this was sort of when his parents ran away. Because population 14, where does that include his parents? Because where were they?
Yeah.
Was it Forgettable Guy? Maybe that was his dad.
Maybe he got into the flying machine with Matt Frewer. Because it's Matt Frewer in that movie, isn't it? We watched that pretty recently.
We did. I'm embarrassed to say yes. I still own it.
But The Day My Parents Ran Away, that's a way better title and more accurate, right? Because Matt Miller Party Dude just feels like was it National Lampoons?
No.
It feels like it.
It wasn't National Lampoons. Not only did the title change, the cover changed as well, because the original cover of Matt Miller Party Dude was a human being that was not in the film.
Okay.
It was really strange. But I didn't dream it.
Yeah.
Ultimately, my curiosity was satisfied and I'm not crazy, so It's fine.
Good.
But if anybody else has heard of this film, ever saw this film, please do contact me.
Yeah, it's one of those, when you brought it up, I'd never heard of it.
No.
And it's pretty rare that you and I won't know a film.
Mhm.
If you mention it, I probably know it, and vice versa. Sometimes it happens. We're like, what's fucking this thing? And when you brought that up, I was like, I never heard of it, never seen it. Yeah, curious. I don't think I know him from anything else really, Melvin.
He was also in Can't Hardly Wait.
I don't know what that is.
Well, maybe we're watching that tomorrow as well. I have it on VHS.
All right.
I guess the only other person to really mention that we haven't talked about thus far is Finn Carter, who played Rhonda. Now, I do like the character of Rhonda.
Yeah, she's a great character.
Yeah, but we talked about this recently, and I can't remember which film it was in reference to, but I like kind of strong female characters that aren't the archetype of like physically strong, physically capable. She's just
Smart.
got a good head on her shoulders and, it knows who she is. That's what I want when I say I like strong female characters. And you get that in spades with Rhonda. And I think it's really sad because I couldn't tell you one other thing that Finn Carter was in. And I actually did a bit of digging, and it sounds like she's had a bit of a troubled time of things of late, because I Googled her and one of the first photos that popped up was a mugshot from 2019.
Oh, that's pretty recent.
Sad to say, yeah. I do know that she was arrested in Las Vegas, I think, for being in possession of a stolen car and, from memory, if memory serves, I think several credit cards that weren't in her name. So potential credit card fraud. So no idea what went wrong there.
Yeah.
But she was really promising in this.
Yeah, I enjoyed her character in this. Don't recognise her from anything else really.
No,
it's a shame.
But that's what I mean though. Like, I don't know. It makes no sense to me. It's really rare that you see a main character in a film like this, and then they go on to do nothing of note.
Yeah.
That's really strange.
Well, it sounds like she had some demons and...
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, hopefully she turns things around.
There's always time.
Yeah. She can come back for Tremors 8, maybe.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen either of the Tremors TV shows?
I haven't, but apparently one featured Burt Gummer, right? One
Yes.
show, early 2000s, maybe?
Yeah, 2003.
Right.
I think it had a 13-episode run, after which point, presumably, it got cancelled. I haven't seen any of it.
Sci-Fi Channel?
I believe so. I know the more recent one was definitely Sci-Fi Channel.
It feels like a Sci-Fi Channel, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Especially that era.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, it not only had Burt Gummer, it also had Dean Norris.
As a policeman, I'm assuming.
With a coat that's too large.
Yeah.
Christopher Lloyd as well. So decent cast, but I guess it just didn't capture people's imagination at the time.
It didn't grab people, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, see what you did there.
Graboid people. Yeah, I must admit, like I don't think I knew about that until very recently.
No, I didn't.
I probably would have watched it had I known.
I did know about the 2018 one.
Right, yeah.
Which I think they only got as far as doing a pilot, because the listing that I found is for what looks like a feature film. It's listed as a movie, so I think they maybe cobbled together something from the ashes.
I assumed it was just like a feature-length pilot, because it's like 80 or 90 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's aired anywhere.
Honestly, I don't know.
It sounds like it was probably made and just not picked up, so it probably didn't get shown anywhere.
Which is a shame.
There is a trailer for it on YouTube, and I did watch that.
And?
Yeah, it looks... I'd watch it, but it didn't... It looked like it was leaning more towards the horror side of things.
Okay.
And there was an interesting scene in the trailer, but it didn't give me Tremors vibes. It was obviously Val, and he's back, and he's slightly leaning into that comedic aspect of his character from the original, but it does feel like it's played maybe more straight.
Well, Fred Ward was in it as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, apparently so, yeah.
Which is a shame, because if they're going to revive it now, they've left it a bit too late to get both of them back together.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
I think Bacon gets asked about it every now and again, and he's like, yeah, I'd do it. But he'd do anything now, wouldn't he? How like, you come full circle, Kevin Bacon. He's like that shitty Worms movie, now he's begging to be in it.
Yeah. Well, people can change.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did remember hearing about that back in 2018, and I was quietly optimistic when I heard that Vincenzo Natali was attached. I'm not sure why. I think I'm always hopeful when I hear about one of his projects because I loved Cube. But then I remember that it's also the same person who's responsible for Splice, which was fine.
I thought Splice was pretty good, but
It was...
I don't ever want to rewatch
Yeah.
it.
I know what you mean.
I just was for about 2 weeks thinking, oh, that was fucking bleak, wasn't it? Oh my god.
See, I don't mind the bleak. It was just, ugh.
Yeah, the yuck.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the ick factor.
It was gross.
But yeah, and he was also responsible for one of the segments in the worst VHS movie, VHS 3.
Great.
So I don't know. Maybe he was a bit of a one-hit wonder, but it's a shame nonetheless.
Well, I don't think that I really knew that there were so many sequels to the original movie. I think I definitely knew about 2, and I think maybe I'd seen that late at night, probably late 90s maybe.
I didn't realise I'd seen any of the sequels until we blitzed through them last year.
Which ones had you seen?
Definitely 2 and 3.
Right.
I didn't think I'd seen 3, but it was very familiar to me. But nothing beyond that.
I don't think I'd seen 3. I think I'd seen 1 a bunch of times, and I think I'd only seen 2 like once.
Okay.
And I didn't like it when I first saw it. Enjoyed it a lot more when we watched it.
I think do you know what? I'm going to die on this hill. I think 2 is great. It's got so much going for it.
Yeah.
Helen Shaver as well. She's great.
I think it's good. I think it's fun. I do enjoy it more than I did now than I did back then. I've got a lot of time for 4, and I think that's definitely my favourite. But I hear what you're saying, and I think a lot of people share that opinion.
Good.
As well, as in
the correct one.
What's the best sequel? Yeah, not fucking 5 or 6, is it? Easily the worst 2. Apparently 7 does bring it back a little bit, and it's kind of pretty good, you know. Okay. Apparently the setup for that is that it's a island situation where rich person has put a load of tremors on an island, and we're hunting them for sport. And then,
I mean, that would happen.
Yeah.
But Elon Musk would have done it.
Yeah. But yeah, and then things go wrong, so they have to get Burt Gummer in to save the day. But yeah, we haven't seen it, so we can't have an opinion on it. But I didn't realise there were so many sequels until fairly recently, I would say. And then you bought me that box set, and we blitzed through them all in fairly short succession. A bit like we did with Chucky and Police Academy when we did one for me and one for you. Don't
remind me.
But I kind of liken the Tremors franchise to the Chucky franchise a little bit. I was thinking about this.
Yeah.
And the only reason is that something that you bring up, a good point that you've made in the past about the Chucky franchise, is that they introduce a new thing in each movie and then they stick with it. That's now canon, that's lore, and they just stick with it. And I feel like they kind of did that with Tremors as well.
Yeah. I admire that level of consistency because there are so many franchises where like a different director will come on board, they'll introduce another element, and then somebody else will take over for the next one and go, oh, I didn't like that idea, let's retcon it.
Yeah, retcon it, or just don't address it at all, or do a reboot and you do new things. It's tricky.
But I admire the dedication to the bit, especially if it's super ludicrous and they do it anyway.
And it is ludicrous in this. I mean, the thing, one of the things that makes the first Tremors movie so strong is that you know so little about the monster and the people. You get a kind of a history from the way that they're communicating and stuff, but it's not given to you on a plate. You just kind of got to fill in the gaps, and that works. But as the movies go on, it introduces a new thing, and more to do with the origin. I think you actually find out where they come from, like they've always been here. There's a whole life cycle to them. In the first one, they're just worms, but in the second one, you get, is it the dirt dragons?
I know what you're going to say. I know what you're going to say next.
Okay, so I believe in number 4, because you could kind of watch 4 first because it's a prequel.
Yeah.
So you could start with 4, and it tells you how Burt Gummer's family becomes obsessed with guns, which I really enjoy that as well. But also it shows them finding eggs. And you think, okay, well, that's the start of their life cycle. They go from an egg, they go to, I've got a diagram here that I copy and pasted off of Wikipedia.
Amazing.
Graboid life cycle.
I love it.
Circle of the graboid life. Yeah, they start off as eggs, and then they turn into dirt dragons, and then they turn into graboids, which is what we see in the first movie. Yeah. And then they turn into shriekers.
Okay.
And then they turn into arse blasters.
I hate that. I knew you were going to get there. Arse blasters. No.
And why are they called arse blasters, Sarah?
Don't they fly?
Yeah, but how do they fly?
They blast from their arses, I guess. The clue is in the name, Dan. Don't make me say it.
They fart.
Yeah.
And that gives them enough lift to glide through the air.
Yeah.
It's great.
Because a child designed this.
Yeah, but they stick with it. They introduce these more ludicrous things, and they stick with it, and it's now law. And then the arse blasters lay the eggs, and so the circle continues. But yeah, I was thinking about this while we were watching it. I was thinking, yeah, it kind of reminds me of that Chucky situation as well. Probably like a similar amount of movies in the franchise, and each iteration introduces this newest crazy thing, and they just stick with it, and then they just incorporate it into the next one. And I respect that, because it's not the most cerebral concepts when you're talking about arse blasters and things like that, but the Tremors franchise, it's just a bit of fun. It doesn't really matter. And the same to a certain degree with Chucky.
But also, I think like the easy choice would be, oh, this thing doesn't fit with the idea that we've got. Let's just forget about that. Let's write it out.
Yeah.
So I think it is admirable in a way.
I think so. And probably harder to do.
Yeah.
And like,
I'm not saying it's better, but I like it anyway.
I don't want a world where we get a reboot that's dark and gritty.
Oh, can you imagine?
Don't need it. And I felt like the trailer for the pilot that we were talking about earlier kind of felt a little bit like that. It did feel like it had some good ideas, and it was only like a 3-minute trailer, so it's, not getting too much from it. But I did feel like it was losing some of that tongue-in-cheek comedy, lightheartedness that the franchise does best.
Yeah, I think to reboot it as something gritty would just rob it of the magic. Can you imagine, like, they'd be like, because they touch on some serious things, like the Gummers are doomsday preppers effectively.
The Gummers.
And have like a really pro-gun stance, which is deeply problematic. But
yeah,
I feel like it's sort of within the context of this world, it's not a problem. I don't see it as a problem. But if they were to do like a gritty reboot, it would just be like the two of them kind of reading the anarchist cookbook and,
listening to Alex Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Browsing QAnon.
Yeah.
Wearing their MAGA hats.
Yeah. It's fine. Like the original, it's treated with a kind of a lightheartedness that you need. And yeah, I wouldn't care for a gritty reboot.
No.
If we were to reboot it,
okay,
then my version would not be a gritty version. It definitely would stick with the comedy of the original. I don't want this movie to be remade. Can I just say that I don't think this should be remade. I think if the original's perfect, we don't need to remake this movie.
I agree. However, we are going to recast it.
Yeah, if we have to.
We do have to because we prepared for this.
Yeah,
we haven't done this in a while. And I've really enjoyed it whenever we've done it in the past. I think Police Academy was my favourite.
Let's start with you then. What have you got in had for a reboot? If you had to make one, who have you got in it?
Who have I got in it?
What characters are you recasting?
Well,
and who are they playing?
Do you know what? You kind of fucked me up a little bit.
Sorry.
Because for the Fred Ward role, I put John Bernthal.
Oh, did you?
Based on looks alone. Because there is something about Fred Ward's face that always makes me think of John Bernthal. They could be related. I can't put my finger on exactly what it is. And John Bernthal usually does more serious roles, so I'd really like to see him in something a bit more lighthearted. Yeah.
He's more serious and gritty. He plays more serious and gritty characters for sure. He does have a bit of I want to say like Wolf of Wall Street, like he's a hard man character in that, like he always is, but that movie's a satire and he is playing for laughs.
I mean, before he found fame, he was in a sitcom, a pretty short-lived sitcom, so he's done comedy. He can do it.
He was in he was a hoot in Walking Dead as well.
Yeah. An absolute laugh riot as the Punisher.
Yeah.
He was a bloody good Frank Castle.
He is a bloody good Frank Castle because we're fucking not recasting that MCU.
We'll see.
But I like it. I think that works. John Bernthal as Earl.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
How about you?
You want me to go?
For Earl, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm going to have to say Earl and Val together. You touched earlier on the dynamics of Earl and Val, and I'm straight up making those two characters gay. in a
Straight
reboot.
up.
Straight up. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for spotting that. I was thinking about this because it would have been interesting if they were just a couple and it's just not mentioned. You don't need the love interest in the original. Like I said, you just fucking cut that out and it can just be a mutual respect situation, and that's fine. So let's make them gay. Why not? Let's fucking let's piss off the right wingers and make it fucking woke. But I'm casting Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett.
I love it.
The dynamic that we've got in The Last of Us.
I love it. I fucking love both of them as well. Murray Bartlett killed me in The White Lotus.
Oh, exquisite.
He's so funny.
Yes.
And Nick Offerman is Nick Offerman. He's a legend.
I got Nick Offerman first, and I was like, okay, who's going to play Val? And I was thinking Taron Egerton. I quite liked that, and I had a few other names, and then it hit me. I was like, no, let's do what we did in The Last of Us.
I love it. I stuck a bit closer to the original in terms of ages. I like what you did though, but for the Kevin Bacon role, I went with Glenn Powell.
Oh, I wrote down Glenn Powell.
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, we spent too much time together.
He's got a bit of bacon about him though, isn't he?
Yes, he's really charismatic, but he can do the straight man stuff as well. But he's a little bit goofy. Have you ever seen Scream Queens?
No.
He was absolutely fucking hilarious in Scream Queens. I only watched season 1, but he stole the show. Obviously, he was in Top Gun Maverick as well.
Yeah.
I've seen him in a few things now, and he's pretty consistently funny. I think he could fill those shoes quite well. Those cowboy boots. Yeah.
No, I like it. I wrote that one down too. Who else did I write down for Val? Ryan Gosling.
Okay. I don't love it, but I know how much you adore Gosling.
I adore Gosling. I thought it was
just trying to shoehorn him into everything.
Yeah. But I thought it was a bit obvious, maybe. He's very good at comedy stuff, obviously. But I thought it was a bit obvious. I wrote down Sebastian Stan.
Okay. You know I like Sebastian Stan, but I don't see him in that role, I'll be honest.
Stephen Ewan.
Oh, okay.
Talk about him. That was all of my Val suggestions. But also for Earl, I was sort of... When I thought of Nick Offerman, that was locked in. But I was also considering Russell Crowe.
Oh, no, I don't like Russell Crowe.
But it was more when I was considering Gosling for Val.
Right.
I was like, we'll get that nice guys situation again.
Okay.
Seth Rogen.
Okay.
Adam Driver.
Ooh, interesting.
John Hamm.
I thought about John Hamm.
Did you?
Yeah.
He's very good at comedy. He's very good at that. It could have worked well. And just because I love watching him on screen, I wrote down Sterling K. Brown. But when I thought about it, I thought, nah, I can't really see it.
Yeah.
But I just like him, so I want to see him in everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Who have you got for Rhonda? Is that your next one?
Yeah. So for Rhonda, I ommed and ahed about this, and it's a strange choice.
Okay.
But I went for Zoe Deutsch.
Oh, who's that?
Leah Thompson's daughter. She's been in, what have we watched recently with her in? Buffaloed, the one where she was sort of buying debts from people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that works.
She's like the proper ditzy character in Zombieland 2. She crops up in so much stuff, and she's got a decent amount of range, but she's also really good at comedy. Yeah, not the obvious choice, maybe.
I like it, though. It works.
Yeah.
She was good in Buffaloed. Yeah, and I can see her taking on that role. I like it, actually.
What about you?
I only really had two options for this. The first one, I'm going to say who I was considering, and I wasn't thrilled about it, so I didn't go for her, but Shailene Woodley.
Okay.
I was like, she could probably do it, but I'm not thrilled about this. Who would be more interesting in that role? And I thought Julia Garner.
Ooh, I love Julia Garner.
She's great.
Yeah.
I know, again, like I would put her in anything, really. Whenever we do these reboots, you'll probably find that Julia Garner comes up quite a lot.
So is that what you settled on, Julia Garner?
Julia Garner, yeah.
Okay.
I only really had those two. And when I thought of her, I was like, yeah, it has to be Julia Garner.
Yeah, because she can do like really sort of, she can play younger, she can play really innocent and soft-spoken, but then she can also raise her Ozark voice.
Yeah.
And be very commanding. So I like that. She's got good range, yeah.
She's fucking great. And I was thinking about the ages of people as well, but when I decided,
it sort of doesn't matter.
But when I decided that Earl and Val were a couple,
and she didn't need to be a love interest,
everything else just sort of fell into place.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, she's not a love interest, so it doesn't matter. She could be fucking 23.
Love it.
But she's like 30 odd or something. In real life, so. What about the big man, Big Bert? Who you got for Big Bert?
So, again, we spend too much time together. Because you've usurped my idea. For Bert and Heather Gummer, I went with a gay couple.
Okay.
So I'm going to have to tell you them both together. So for Bert Gummer, Carrie Coon. Quick to Google. Carrie Coon's amazing. Something that I know you would know her from. She was the mum in Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Right. Okay.
But that's sort of really underselling her because she's a much better actress than that film would suggest.
Okay.
And she's brilliant. She's genuinely brilliant. And as her partner, Sarah Paulson. I think they'd work well together, but I could sort of see them as like gone, not lesbians.
Yeah, I can see that. So you're making it fucking woke as well.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
We independently had the same idea.
You're taking my Tremors movie away from me. Why can't we just have Tremors? Why can't we have the X-Men? Why are we making the X-Men about gays?
Oh my God, were you
Mate.
not paying attention?
Mate. I've genuinely seen videos on YouTube pop up and people are fucking livid at X-Men 90. I don't even know what is in X-Men 97, but I know that it's something, it's either a trans character or a gay character or something. I don't fucking know. And they're livid.
Do they know what mutants are an allegory for?
Do they know what allegory means?
Oh, they're going
What
to have
did they
some...
think it was about?
I don't know.
Did they literally just think it was about a bloke with lasers coming out of his eyes?
I think
and that
so.
was it?
I think
I
so,
mean, it
yeah.
is about that. And that's what's fun about it.
Yeah.
But also, you know, subtext.
Yeah, and there's a guy in a wheelchair. Disabled representation.
Yeah.
Fucking woke.
Yeah. I like it.
Okay.
Do you want to hear my Bert?
I do.
Thought of one name and that was locked in immediately.
Okay.
Sholto Copley.
Oh. Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
Are you familiar with the A-Team?
The A-Team? Yes, I am.
The A-Team.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's that, I can't remember his character name in it, but he's the crazy guy.
Yeah.
And he's just got that energy. He's got that nuts energy that works so well. Obviously, District 9. Because
Free Fire.
Free Fire is really fun in that.
I can see it.
Yeah. So when I thought of him, that's it. That's locked in. I've got no other names. Now for Heather, I was struggling with this a little bit. And then I thought, I'm going to utilize some of that energy she had in Beef. And I'm going to cast Ali Wong.
Oh, okay.
Just because she was just fun and aggressive, and I just want that character, I want that kind of thing in this movie.
She's kind of terrifying as well because she's really diminutive but also volatile as fuck.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to cross her.
Yeah.
I like that.
I think that could be a fun energy, especially with those two as well.
And both really talented at comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
Thank you.
Interesting.
And I wrote down Melvin, but I didn't really get any good suggestions.
I couldn't think of I tried to go the whole cast. I'm going to give up now. That's the top 5.
Yeah.
But I did think about some of the other characters, and I really struggled because I can't name like one child actor.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. You know, I wrote down Melvin, and I was like, Tom Holland, who's probably like 30.
He's like 30, yeah. And I don't want to Google it because I might end up on a list.
Child actors. The other one I wrote down was Barry Keoghan, but again,
he's definitely 30.
Yeah. Barry Keoghan, like 10 years ago, he could have got away with it. 5 years ago, when The Killing of Sacred Deer came out.
And I was thinking about the kids from It, but they're all too old now.
Yeah, they're all 25 now.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know either. So yeah, I just stopped there.
Yeah.
I wrote down Barry Keoghan, Tom Holland, and was like, I'm probably not going to bring this up, but I did. And I really, I wasn't really thinking about Victor Wong because I was like, how can you know?
I tried, yeah.
I couldn't think of anyone that could play that role.
I had one idea.
Yeah.
And it was just to take it in a completely different direction. And I thought about Octavia Spencer.
Okay. Yeah, that works for me.
Completely different direction.
I thought, you know, if we're doing a reboot, let's put a little cameo in there for Kevin Bacon.
Oh, okay.
Let's
make
him.
Yeah.
Let's make him Walter or something. I don't know.
As long as he's playing a banjo at a goat.
Yeah. Yeah. You can go into his shop and you can take a photograph of him with a goat and a banjo, and it's like $5.
And a graboid.
And a tremor.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, that's it then.
Yeah.
That's it. Tremors done.
Love it.
Yeah. I guess we got to mention what we're doing next week, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a guest joining us next week.
Yeah.
Chris Regan from Just a Thing is joining us to talk about Christopher McQuarrie's 2000 crime thriller film. First time watch for you, I believe.
I'm nervous. Yeah, I've never seen this.
The Way of the Gun. Interesting movie.
Okay, so you keep saying that's why I'm nervous.